As state after state imposes restrictions on economic activity, shops, retailers, MSMEs, restaurants are all staring at another quarter of fixed costs and no revenues. The Reserve Bank governor has been meeting teams from the financial sector. He has met bankers, NBFCs, microfinance companies. CNBC TV 18 broke the story earlier today that banks want the restructuring of cases which started last September to be continued until the end of this year. It was to have ended, of course, on June 30th. What will all this mean in terms of how rating agencies will look at such cases, and more importantly, how will this impact the confidence of investors as they begin to distrust the P&Ls of NBFCs or banks, because you're never sure what is the extent of stress. For all these questions, we are joined by Umesh Revankar, Managing Director at Shriram Transport Finance Company, Krishnan Sitaraman, Senior Director at Crystal Ratings, IBA Chief Sunil Mehta, and Alok Mishra, the CEO and Director at Microfinance Institutions Network. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining me. Mr. Mehta, let me start with you, since you represent a 150 lakh crore assets under management group. What is your ask from the government, from the Reserve Bank?
As you all pretty well know, nobody anticipated that the second wave of COVID will come with such a magnitude and it will impact the lives. And everybody was working for a very expected growth. Maybe post September, we all were looking for a good numbers for the current financial year and the going forward for in this year also. So all were preparing for growth this year, and nobody was prepared for this setback, and this is still it's unfolding, so we don't know the magnitude, the way it will unfold in future. Right now, maybe we have already requested the government, the Reserve Bank, and with the government also, we are taking it up, that a few of the measures which were taken during the COVID, and I think I must compliment the government and the RBI in coming out with a very proactive measures in the first phase of COVID. Now in the second wave, I think everybody is comprehending the extent of damage, and then everybody is working out, including we as a banker. We are thinking that what really we will need to address this issue, and we have yet to make up our mind. Few requests we have already made to the Reserve Bank of India. One of them is extension of levelized working capital assessment, which was permitted last year during the first wave, and which was to end on 31st March. So we have requested that this may be extended for one more year, which enables the bankers to reassess their working capital, reduce their margins, and without treating as a restructuring or a downgradation. Another ask which we have already made with the Reserve Bank of India is permitting a standstill on the accounts in which invocations have been made, but implementation is yet to be made. Because the last date of invocation was 31st March, and they are supposed to be implemented by 30th June. But maybe because of the second wave of COVID, they may or may not be able to implement it in a very short run. So if they are given a standstill, at least some respite will be available, and the continuity of financial support to these stressed entities will be available.
Okay.
The third ask which we have done is about CODs. Like there were certain projects which were scheduled or to be completed between 1st March 2020 to 31st March 2021. So we have requested extension of a 1 year COD, maybe from the original or the rescheduled COD, because many of them have suffered because of the lockdown for more than 3 to 4 months, and then a low level of activities also. So these are the three things which we have already requested, and we are watching the situation and may come to go to RBI with a fresh set of demands.
Okay, very quickly, Mr. Mehta, clearly moratorium is off the table, right? लेने के देने पड़ गए.
ऐसा तो नहीं कहना चाहिए. I don't say that is the right thing.
No, I mean, you had to, the banks had to bear the burden of interest on interest, and we can see it. Even yesterday, Kotak's numbers indicated that. So, I mean, I'm just asking you as a matter of fact, moratorium is not even being discussed, right?
Moratorium right now, actually, it's very difficult for the entire banking sector to comprehend the impact of damage this COVID second wave will have. So we are still working on it and looking at the numbers. Once we understand that how long it is going to pan out, once we understand or have some sense of how it is going to impact, maybe we may go to the RBI with our ask. Because right now, this is not on the table. We are just working on the numbers.
Okay. Well, I'm coming to Umesh and Alok for their asks. But before that, Krishnan Sitaraman, I just wanted to ask you, in case of further restructuring is allowed, or asset classification is not brought down to NPA even after restructuring, is there a commercial impact? Where does it leave rating agencies, and will investors still worry, and will you find yields rising even though it is a standard asset?
Good morning, Lata. Good morning, everyone. A very good question, Lata, on this matter. But what I would say here is unprecedented times call for unprecedented measures. We've seen that last time when the regulator and the government came up with a series of measures, whether it's a moratorium, whether it's a one-time restructuring, whether it's a TLTR or the funding support, and the ECLGS scheme, a whole host of measures were there. The Supreme Court stands still on NPA recognition. So some of that are no longer available now. What we would be looking at is not take any knee-jerk action. What we are looking at is both from a near-term perspective as well as from a more longer-term perspective. If the restructuring, and you must keep in mind that last year, SEBI, which is the regulator for credit rating agencies, they had also come up with a circular to us that if there is a delay in payments by companies only on account of COVID-19 impact or a restructuring and so on, we need not take the rating down to a default grade. So no such guideline has come out this year so far. At the same time, that said, as I said, we will not be taking any knee-jerk action. We will be looking at what is the fundamental and intrinsic strength of these companies. If it's a near-term impact and if things can get addressed in the next few months due to this restructuring being given, we would take a call accordingly. However, if we believe that there is a very permanent impact on the business and it could kind of lead to the restructuring may not lead to an improvement in the financials or give a longer term relief to the company, we may look at it differently. That said, we will work within the regulatory architecture which is laid down. And if there is any circular which comes out from SEBI, we will strictly adhere to that. But
SEBI hasn't reached out to you all this far.
So far, no circular has come out on this matter, but we are in dialogue with our companies. There is an impact on the companies, but as we were discussing earlier, the previous Mr. Mehta was also saying, and in your earlier program, there was a mention of that. The impact this time around, there are two differences on the impact from the second wave and vis-a-vis the first wave. Despite the high level of medical impact in terms of the casualties and the number of infections, what we are seeing is there is the extent of the lock or the containment measures this time around are lesser in scope and intensity as compared to last year. We don't have the pan-India lockdown. Various states have come out with their own measures. But to some extent, the economic activity is still going on.
Okay.
The other thing is many of the companies are more prepared this time to handle the impact. Last time it was like a bolt out of the blue, and one fine day the pan-India lockdown was imposed.
No, Krishnan, I take your point. Let me just get to know what the others are also asking, and I'm coming back to you. I take your point that this time, the level of we have not stopped all trains and buses, and it's not a complete lockdown like we had from March 22nd, 2020, and therefore, Mr. Revankar, I don't know if you were there with the RBI governor's meeting over the past 2 days, but are NBFCs really that much impacted that you need some special dispensation?
Yeah, I was not in any meeting NBFC from NBFC side. What I would like to say, the FIDC, which represents both small and large NBFCs, have already sent a request letter to RBI saying that one-time restructuring for these standard accounts and also the lending done in the last year may be given, because what we do, NBFC do, is we lend against an earning asset, and if the asset is not earning, then there is a repayment, delay in repayment, or there could be some challenges in payment by the customers. Now, since we are lending against asset, we don't have a big challenge of losing an account or getting into NPA immediately. There will be temporary delay in the payment or smaller EMI may be paid. So restructuring gives us an opportunity for us to have a dialogue with the customer and reschedule his repayment in such a way that it is not considered as a NPA. That's what we have been.
The ask is one-time
And
restructuring.
also, liquidity support should be continued, because what's happening is the TLTRO and the private sector is being given up to September. It is better to have a long-term view rather than short-term, because this COVID impairment is not going to be a temporary one. It is going to be a long-term impact on the business. This time, as other speakers
So,
are,
Mr. Revankar, so what is the ask exactly?
No, there are two asks. One is allowing restructuring
Yes.
of the account which are standard, and also the liquidity support which is given till September to be continued as a long-term measure, not as a short-term measure.
That is the one that comes through SIDBI?
No, this is the RBI, TLTRO, and for the priority sector lending, on lending.
Okay, priority sector on lending should be continued beyond September. That is, if you, anybody who lends to you and you on lend to one of the priority sectors, that should be considered priority sector for the bank who has given you the money, right?
Yes, correct.
As well, of course, a TLTRO line. Alok, what has been the MFI sector's ask?
Well, good morning, Lata. As far as the ask is concerned, let me tell you that we are still trying to assess the situation, but still some things have been crystallized, and we are very lucky that the governor, the Reserve Bank, has been very proactive, and yesterday he had a long meeting with us, understanding the issues which we are likely to face. So two things come to were very clearly flagged out in the meeting. First is liquidity. Because the institutions are short of liquidity, people are trying to conserve cash. And clients at the field level, we are in a paradoxical situation. While there is some stress on repayment, at the same time, our rural clients, our semi-urban clients, small entrepreneurs, small household activities, they need credit to tide over these times to strengthen their livelihoods. So we have requested specifically on liquidity. And on liquidity, we have requested two specific things. One is that the tenure of the liquidity which flows in from RBI's funding to AFIs, basically NABARD and SIDBI is primarily NABARD, that has to be long term, and that has also to be structured in such a way that the advantage also flows into the smaller players, because last time a major chunk of it went for the bigger players and smaller players were left high and dry. So that was on the liquidity side. The second issue which came up...
NABARD, the money that came out of NABARD was largely going to the larger NBFCs?
Other NBFCs, because smaller players and all that, the ticket size is small, and many of the eligibility conditions they are not able to, or a few of them they are not able to meet. So we have said that these are unprecedented times, and so as such the norms and eligibility things will also have to be properly structured so that everybody gets the benefit, because the institutions are solvent. The clients have shown their resilience. The time is to stand by them through liquidity. And the second thing which was very importantly said in that, because as you know, that the entire financial space, only NBFC MFIs have pricing regulations, and which leaves us with almost with a downward revision of base rate, because the pricing is now come down to fixation with base rate. It almost leaves us to zero or negative margin. And now with the credit cost going from historical 1% to 5 to 7%, the balance sheets are, of course, will have a lot of stress. So we have said that for time being, there has to be some relief on that. We have to revert back to the old Malegaon committee formula of cost of fund plus 12%. And then finally, like my other panelists have also talking about the restructuring and relief, we are still trying to assess the situation at ground level, and we have only We have still to formally write to the Reserve Bank of India. But in the meeting, we discussed and said that any relief or restructuring, whatever comes through and what is required, that has to come with enough flexibility so that institutions with the board approved policies can do that.
All right, got that. We have to take a very quick break. I'm back with more questions. Welcome back. The unexpected second round of restrictions has thrown a lot of businesses staring at no revenues for a couple of months and fixed costs mounting. So the Reserve Bank Governor has been meeting a lot of financial sector participants to check whether any further help is needed. We have been speaking with Umesh Revankar, Krishnan Sitharaman, Sunil Mehta of the IBA and Mr. Alok Mishra of the Microfinance Institutions Network. Mr. Revankar, I wanted to ask you, the ECLGS scheme seems to have worked very well and it has been extended, of course, till June 30th. Is there something that needs to be tweaked over there, that guaranteed credit is required for certain sectors simply because banks are risk averse otherwise?
We wanted certain relaxation there. I'm not fully well versed with that, but I think the limit they have brought down from 75% to 50% for NBFC, that we wanted the rollback. That's the request from NBFC industry.
Okay. Mr. Mehta, this is a constant complaint that even the earlier CGTMSE, the ECLGS schemes were used by some of the banks to tell their borrowers, you borrow in that scheme because it is cheaper and then return the old loans. There is a constant worry on the part of borrowers, especially NBFCs, that banks are anyways risk averse and do not lend. Do you see that risk aversion coming in the way?
Lata, I do not subscribe to what you have said right now. If you see, even during the pandemic year, where the lockdown was there for a substantially long time, the credit growth has taken place at a 6%. It's not bad during the present set of circumstances. And as regard emergency line of credit, so this is made available after the initial, when the initial wave of the COVID came. The banks started themselves by offering 10% emergency line of credit even before that, before the emergency line of credit was introduced by the banking sector and the government. As regards emergency line of credit, I think this is one of the most flexible and innovative scheme which the government has brought out. And incidentally, I'm into management committees, so we work together with the government. That particular scheme has been customized to the requirements of the developing situation. The way the hospitality sector, especially the hotels and industries, so they were having a problem. So the requirement was enhanced from 20% to 40% for the hospitality sector.
Yeah.
And that has come into the ECLGS 3.
Yeah, so that's why I'm asking you. That's what I'm asking you, whether any further extension of that scheme, either in terms of amount or time, is also something the government should consider. That's not something the Reserve Bank can. That request will have to go to the government.
You're perfectly right, Lata. I think the scheme automatically is getting extended because the kitty which was made available to that particular scheme was 3 lakh crore, out of which 2.53 lakh crore has already been sanctioned and is being availed by the borrowers. Now the leftover window is roughly 47,000 crore, for which the ECLGS 3 has already been introduced, which has got a window up to June, and with the passage of time, we will know how much of it is available. Okay. So if there is still available window, the government can definitely consider its extension of time, or maybe at that point of time, we'll make an assessment after this time limit is over.
All right. Well, actually, we're now running out of time. But Krishnan, any assessment of what might be the amount of stress? After all, this restriction is only about 4 weeks old now. So if it is another 4 weeks, like all of May, if it's only 8 weeks, what is your assessment of the amount of loans that may be stressed?
Yeah, Lata, that's a very vexing question that we are also looking into. I think it's a little bit too early. As you said, it's a few weeks into the new containment measures. In the second half, if you look at some of the states, it's only come in a week, couple of weeks back. So it's a little bit early for us. What we are looking at in the near term is what's the resilience of the balance sheets of the financial sector entities. And there we are looking at three things, as I call it CLP. C stands for capital, L stands for liquidity, and P stands for the provisioning level. So if these are at reasonably high levels, then the resilience is built up, the balance sheet is looking more fortified. So if the impact is very near term, maybe a month, couple of months, the entities should be able to manage it. But if the spread intensity and duration of the pandemic and the containment measures keep prolonging, then the impact will come in. We had already projected 6 to 7.5% stressed assets on NBFC books as of now. So we've not made a material increase to that. So that's something which we are continuously monitoring. And if need be, we will revise that shortly.
Okay, Mr. Revankar, your fourth quarter numbers were very good, but what is your estimate of problems in the current quarter? Only a very small number would be in trouble?
Yeah, Lata, the way April has panned out, against normal collection of 95-96%, the collection was around 92. That's around 4 to 5% less collection in the month of April. May also there could be some similar challenges could be there. It's mainly because many of our customers who have reasonably good income are holding back their money with them. Basically, they or their family members having some kind of an emergency situation. They want to have the cash with them. They are not parting away with full income because the income is not stopped for the customers. The vehicles are moving. They are able to make economic activity.
Yes, I got that. Got that, sir. So it's really not so much a revenue issue. I think for the microfinance, it would be the biggest problem. Any assessment, Mr. Mishra, of what can be the size of the problem?
Yeah, Lata, I would agree that it is still too early because in March, the sector recovery in all India basis was around 95%, and April end figures are still coming, but we believe that it is gone down by 5-7 percentage points to 88%. But real assessment will come, I think, on depending upon the severity of the lockdown. I think by June end, we should be able to have clearer impact.
Okay. Well, I guess even for the Reserve Bank by June end, if they have an idea of what they're going to offer by way of solutions, that should suffice. But the Reserve Bank has been proactive. Let's see what they come up with. But the assessment from the experts is that the injury this time is not very serious because not all the economic activity has been stopped. Perhaps it is more with urban shops, retailers, that the problem has really emerged. We wrap up on that note. Thank you very much for watching. There's lots more lined up.